Hey everybody, having a problem with the in-laws? Let's start talking about family boundaries. What is a family boundary? Let's start with that. It's this. I got this nice little drawing here. It's a social boundary. It's not made of physical walls. It can't be detected. You can't touch it. And typically it's enforced by women primarily. Really, to be honest with you, family boundary conflicts are almost always women fighting with women. And I think this is because women are more concerned with family boundaries because they're more concerned about equity. Equity asks this question, is everybody included? Is everybody treated as special? Is who's in and who's out of the family? Who gets to decide? I don't think that these questions are very obvious, or at least the answers are not very obvious. But why are women so concerned with family boundaries? Well, typically, at least historically, they depend on the family more for survival. Threats to family integrity are felt as personal threats. Women often act and respond as if they are the family, as if threats to the family are threats to me. Men are more like nomads. I swear, they could go camping. They don't care. The house is just a house. It's just a structure that they live in. For men, family is people, right? But they don't notice things like the ladies do. Men can move in and out of families. Men can say, establish family here, and then go ahead and just obey whatever rule system is with their mom's family, or go over here and obey whatever rule system is in that other family. Not a big deal. They just move in and out of families. The ladies struggle with that. You know, to most guys, a bathroom is just a bathroom. But to some ladies, that bathroom is sacred space. And if somebody uses my bathroom without permission, it's treated almost like a personal invasion. But let me give you some example of family boundaries that are very common. Number one, thank you cards. Oh, jeez. Oh, I hate thank you cards. It's totally an American thing. It's not worldwide. Sometimes I actually fantasize about including a thank you card for a wedding gift or whatever with a stamp and addressed thank you card addressed straight to me so that, it's 2 gifts in one. Look at that. Not only did I give you the gift, I gave you the thank you card for me so that you don't have to give me one. That may be stupid, but hey, go ahead and leave that in the comments if you think I'm off base here. All right. Number 2, forgotten birthdays. To forget a birthday is a pretty simple thing maybe, but to some families, man, decades worth of conflict. Big problems if somebody forgets somebody's birthday. How about ask me, don't tell me to come to the holidays? Maybe they would do this instead of just asking, like, are you coming to 4th of July? Are you coming to so-and-so's birthday? Right? That may seem like a small thing, but it's subtle. You know, if I just say, when are you coming? Not really leaving myself open to much rejection here. But what about gifts with strings attached? Does that ever happen to you? Gifts with strings attached? What about unsolicited advice? Just, hey, you're here, so I might as well tell you how to live your life. You know? What about not inviting someone to a birthday party or a wedding? Woo! You know, you would think that you were part of some political event, some of these weddings and birthday parties. You know, because what if everybody doesn't get along? You know, are we going to invite everybody? Is that the rule? Can we exclude some? That's a family boundary issue. What about a wife or a husband going to their mom or dad for advice? Seems harmlessly enough. What if that keeps happening, though? What about political speech, or maybe just insensitive comments or jokes that, you know, maybe is fine over here, but then when the husband or wife goes into that family, not so cool anymore. You know? What about being ignored at a family function? Like simply the act of not acknowledging somebody can cause big problems as far as family boundaries are concerned. Here's one. What about stepkids and maybe even adult children? Are they accepted? Are they not accepted? Are they treated equally? What about in-laws cleaning your house? Just coming over and, you know, typically the mother-in-law just picking up a broom. Is that a subtle comment on how crappy you are at taking care of a house, or is she just doing this to do it? I don't know. Can it cause problems? Yeah, that can cause problems. I'll tell you what, family boundaries took me a while to understand. Because, like I've mentioned, all of these little petty little incidents, all these big seemingly nothings, can turn into a decade of Cold War conflict. A decade! I tell you, the amount of emotion displayed over family boundary violations is second only to infidelity. Why? Well, let's go ahead and look at the drawing. How does the Cold War start? Well, typically, it starts with passive hostility on two sides. Let's just use A as an example. Side A and person B having a war. A is stuck in the middle. This person married to B. But let me go ahead and draw what happens when a family boundary happens. It's actually almost as if this happens. As if A is coming in and invading the family, and B isn't actually married with A. B is actually married with A and parts of his family. And so if B wants to make a decision with A, it's going to be a problem, because what if he goes back to mom or dad? You know, this could even not be a family. Sometimes this can be a work thing. You know, do I have to ask his work or her work to do something? Well, now we're having a problem, because in this scenario here, there should only be 2 votes. And actually, this is the first rule of family boundaries. It's called the rule of 2 votes. Let me give you an analogy right here, right? Let's pretend like A is KFC, B is Taco Bell. Forgive the handwriting, please. And A and B decided, they left their mom and dad, they left their families, and they are creating a Burger King. Well, the rule of 2 votes says this. There's only 2 votes in this family. There's me, there's you, that's it. Other people can have influence, they can have their opinions, they should keep them to themselves probably, but they don't get a vote. It's just me and you who has a vote. More importantly, we don't have to fight these people to have a vote. We created something separate so that if this family over here says, hey, why aren't you guys making chicken? Your chicken sucks. You don't have to fight them. You just say, that's because we're Burger King. We make burgers. But what about if this family says, man, your tacos are not great. Where's your taco? Your taco game is totally off. Of course my taco game's off. We're Burger King. Burger King doesn't have to fight Taco Bell to be Burger King. It just is, right? Burger King doesn't have to fight KFC. It just is. You see, when you start a family, you have the right to create the family as you see fit, just like these people did. Just like these people did. These people got to start families on their own. They got to follow their own rules. They got to develop their own system. Why don't you have that right? You do. This is called the rule of 2 votes. Second rule. Second rule is called the rule of ambassadorship. This is the rule that basically says, I deal with my family and I represent my new family to my old family, and you deal with your family and you represent us to your family. Sounds simple, right? Not always in practice, right? These people over here, there's probably a crazy Aunt Becky or just a real weird Uncle Dwayne, right? Now, what if person A over here is offended by crazy Aunt Becky or weird Uncle Dwayne, right? Should person B go over to the family and say, you know, you guys have been doing the same thing for like 30 years, but I really need you to change your behavior because of this person? Sometimes, right? It's more likely that B should say, crazy Aunt Becky's crazy because of this, and weird Uncle Dwayne is weird because of that, and here's how the family handles that. And they're probably going to continue to handle that. Now, maybe we need to work something out, but this isn't going to change just because it bothers you. Just like if I were to go to your family and ask them to change, what's the likelihood of that happening? It's not great. It's not great. Families usually have been operating under the same rule system for years and years and decades. The chance that they're going to change because somebody's bothered is pretty small. This is where it gets complicated. These are difficult problems because some of the things that crazy Aunt Becky and weird Uncle Dwayne do can be pretty nasty, and we're going to have to find a way to deal with that, right? That's why the ambassadorship. This person should go and act as an intermediary. I actually have people sometimes go to their family and say, if you have a problem with my wife, or if you have a problem with my husband, you don't tell them, you tell me. Decades-long problems have happened because these people started talking to somebody who wasn't in their family, and vice versa. I don't recommend it. Something else to consider is you should give your spouse time to deal with their family. Oftentimes, dealing with your family is a complicated thing that takes years and years and years. Remember, this is the family that birthed you, that made you who you are. And when you become something different, sometimes there's problems in that in and of itself. And setting boundaries with your family is one of the hardest things anybody can do. because sometimes the family really doesn't like boundaries. They want to keep you just the way you are and don't want to validate and recognize who you become and the person you married and the new family and whatever children you have, what that looks like. Sadly, you may need to remove yourself some of the time. You may need to get creative. I don't like it, but sometimes it means that somebody needs to go to Christmas and maybe just show up for an hour and then leave, because that's all they can handle. It's fine. It's better than them, pushing through it for 5 hours. Sometimes that means that you have to police your children or just watch them and not let them out of sight. I don't love this. It's not great, but it is often what people end up having to do. These are difficult for a reason, and maintaining family boundaries means that hopefully we're drawing our boundaries around behaviors and not people. Let's have compassion for the families that birthed us. Let's assume that they're doing the best that they can, because isn't this what we would want our children to view us as when we throw them out into the world and they become different people? And they look back at our parenting and see all the mistakes and see all the weird things about our family, and then what they want to change us? It's not likely to happen. But let me ask you, why do our parents invade our family? Why is this a thing? Why do families invade families? Number one, I think some people feel useless as they age, and they want to feel useful. I think the biggest fear of people as they age is to become useless and irrelevant. Everybody asks this question: what do I do to keep people around? But I would say the older people have it worse. They don't have as much energy. It's often too late to start over. And they may have to spend a lot of money on their kids raising them instead of saving for retirement, only to have their kids quit college, get into drugs, marry somebody who takes them to another state, all kinds of things. I understand the resentment. Sometimes they don't have the bandwidth to start over with another family. Sometimes they're stuck with what they have, and scarcity creates fear. They're very powerless and they feel it. Their kids could cut them off and there's really nothing they can do about it. Well, there are some things that parents can do about it, but they have something to do with the things that I mentioned previously, those 12 things. Do you know what actually works? Believe it or not, this may come as a shock to some parents, but just being attractive, respectful, encouraging, being interested in who your adult children are and who they're becoming, maybe transitioning the relationship away from needing to be being the parent, being the dominant voice in their life, and instead just focus on the love and the relationship you have. Put your parenting skills to rest and just be chill. That's often all that the kids are asking for, is just that. The second thing is, some parents, they still want to parent. They still feel responsible for their children's choices, and they still take things personally when their children grow up and change. Parents often react poorly when their adult children change belief systems, come out as gay, just parent differently, or even choose to move to a different city or pick a certain profession. They have a hard time respecting the rights of this new adult, and instead they take changes of themselves as a rejection in and of themselves. They even seem to believe, things like, you're not rejecting my faith, you're rejecting me. It's as if these parents still see their kids as, 10 years old still. And they only know how to have a relationship with that 10-year-old. Someone they control, someone that they can influence. And I get it, It's jarring when you spend a couple decades forming your children into your own image, only for them to reject that image and create an identity of their own. Just remember, parents, they're not yours to keep. You launch them into the world the best you can, and then you're unemployed. Your job's done. That's right. Mission completed. Your position at the company has ended. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have a role to play. You're still on the sidelines, you're just not the coach anymore. So, get a folding chair, cheer them on. That's your role now. Number 3, some parents don't know how to have a relationship with adult children, and they will try to keep their kids close, just using guilt trips and shame. Here's a common example. Maybe you don't want to go to Cousin Eddie's birthday. You tell your mom. She gets upset. She says, watch for the coded language here, "You're being disrespectful to the family." Now, I hear of that kind of language all the time. And that word disrespect, careful with it, is so common that you would think that these parents all went to a conference to learn how to speak. Why the word disrespect? Because often when parents use that, what they really mean is disobey. But if she says that, it's going to be too obvious. You're going to say, "I don't have to obey you, Mom. I left. Remember, you launched me. I'm a separate adult now." Yeah, a lot of parents use that word disrespect when they really mean disobey, and newsflash, you don't have to obey them anymore. If there was some rule that you still had to obey your parents, you could just call up the grandparents and pull rank on them, right? Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Why? Because your parents left their families to start their own, right? And you get to do that too. You hear me? You get to start your own family just like your parents did. You may need to remind them of that time and time again. Well, if you've gotten this far, do me a favor and just hit that like and subscribe button. Send this video to somebody that you know that's struggling with their family. Hope I've been helpful to you guys. Take care. Love you. Bye.